Welcome, low ego action heroes. Hi, it's November 29, 2022. It's Office Hours Ask Me Anything. And who am I? I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. I've got a full service CX and UX consultancy, and we do projects, training, and consulting. So I am here for the next hour to take absolutely any question you have. The questions are usually about CX and UX, but it's Ask Me Anything. So there you go. Welcome to Pradeep, and of course, the Stream Elements bot, who is a bot, but helps us run the show here. As always, I want to thank the people who are donating to the channel at the junior, mid-level, and senior level low ego action hero membership by pressing the join button on YouTube. Absolutely optional, but always appreciated. I use it to pay for streaming software and chocolate chips, and I'm grateful for both. It's also a reminder that this week my book is coming out, and in fact, it's out. You can now order this. This is the proof copy. Hi, Manuel. You can order this off of Amazon right now. The Kindle will be out on Friday. I have no control of this anymore, but you can get this on Amazon. I'm working on fixing a mistake Amazon made. They made my paperback and my large print paperback look like the same book, and people are probably going to order things by mistake. UX, everybody. So that one's going to say large print very soon. If you want the regular size one, you want the cheaper one. The other one's more expensive because of more paper, more pages, out of my control. Someone asked if this one is better sized than Delta CX. Yes, it is definitely smaller, and it's fewer pages, and it is light and airy. So yes, total upgrade, more readable, better in every way, better cover, thanks to Malika. So yeah, and also the merchandise shop is open at deltacx.shop, and the deltacx.media site is not up yet. We're going to have that up in time for Friday's show, and that is going to be where you will get the EPUB, PDF, and the signed book, if you want a book personally signed by me. All right, now with that out of the way, remember, if you've got a question for today's office hours, ask it in the live chat, or you can follow the link from deltacx.com/links. That's got links to everything. It's got links to sending stuff in for today's show. It's got links for joining our Slack or Discord. All the links are there. You can't go wrong. So we did get one question in ahead of time, so I'm going to put that up on the screen and start there. And the question says, what's the best way to get a good and valid product UX outcome? Well, remember, any outcome, I wish I had more information on this question, so if you're here, I might want some more information, but remember that every product has an outcome. So it could be good and it could be bad, but it's probably valid, because no matter what happens, if you put it out there to customers and it goes well or it doesn't go well, I guess that's valid. So let's talk more about the other word here in the question, which is, how do we get a good outcome? Because certainly those of us who have had UX jobs have probably seen bad outcomes. We've probably seen it where we released something to the public and people didn't respond well to it. They didn't like it. There were more customer support tickets, more complaints, angry tweets, all kinds of things. Those are certainly valid outcomes, but they're probably not good news. So how do we get a better outcome? I would like to say my entire book is about that, but the short version would certainly be, I don't have to hold up the book. I made a graphic and everything. Okay, a little overlapping problem, but there you go. So the main way is to use a better process. A lot of times if you're releasing things to the public and you're not getting good outcomes, where again people are having negative reactions to the product or the service, or it's not being utilized as much as you thought or in the way that you thought, it's usually, this is a process problem, in that chances are, and again, I don't know what specifically may have happened with you, but chances are we didn't do the right research up front to really understand our target customers and their needs. If we don't understand their needs, then it's unlikely that we're going to solve their problems well or at all. So you can see that by messing up kind of the first step of this, we end up setting ourselves up for real or potential failure. So first is the importance of early generative qualitative research, not just sending people a survey and asking them, would you like a cup to drink out of? Because then I might make you this cup the size of your head, and you might be like, well, that's not what I wanted. I said I wanted a cup, but not that one. It's a protein dinner shake, everybody. Not sponsored by the people who make things in the shake. And hey, what's everybody eating or drinking today? So again, the best way to have the best outcomes is to take the time to do better work up front, better customer intelligence, better understanding of who our customers are and what they need. You often hear the phrase product market fit. Better product market fit should lead to better outcomes. Where we don't have a good product market fit, we've built something that doesn't really appeal to customers or solve their problems. So I'm not too sure if this is the type of answer you're looking for. I'm not sure if you're here at all or live, but these are some of the things that I would recommend. So there you go. Amir has a question. I'm going to jump into Amir's question, and we'll make that question number 2. Thanks for asking, Amir. This is a great topic to talk about. So let's put it up there, and I'll also add it to the list because the list ends up in the YouTube description, so you can see all of the questions that were asked. And Amir wants to know, does Lean Canvas help UXers? My question would be, help UXers do what? Now, I am against the Lean Canvas, and in fact, I have an entire article on this. I can pull that article up quickly. I don't think I've done it live on the show yet. So let's see, Medium, Levitt, Lean UX, Canvas. There it is. So I do have an article on this. We haven't gone through it, but let's see. So it's an article. Oh no, this is this my new article? It says December 2021. I could swear I wrote a newer article than that. Give me 1 second to find the newer article, and I'll share my screen. Here it is. Newer article called Critical Thinking About the Lean UX Canvas. It accidentally has a similar title to an article I wrote 2 years ago, or whenever that was. Let's do a quick screen share, and let's see. So there you go. Let me take this off the screen. And this is the article. So it says, Critical Thinking About the Lean UX Canvas. Don't look at my other one. That one's a little bit older, and I've rewritten a lot of stuff in it. And that one, that was a different article. So yeah, just look for Critical Thinking About the Lean UX Canvas. And now let's talk about what's wrong with the Lean UX Canvas, and we'll go back to a giant picture of me. Cheesy. Though really the article is your best bet, and I do need to do it. Oh, thanks, Solomon says, I'm ordering the book before you run out. Good, thank you. The Lean UX Canvas has a lot of problems. One of the first problems with it is that it was stolen, ripped off, taken from a business model canvas. Obviously, there is a big difference between trying to determine a company or product line's entire business model and trying to come up with a UX strategy for a particular product, or trying to come up with the product itself. So Lean UX Canvas, Lean UX is garbage in general. The Lean UX Canvas is not going to help us, and I would really strongly suggest reading through the article. Did I read through the article live in a YouTube show yet? Let's check for that, because if I did, that would be a great video to watch. Let's see, Lean UX Canvas. Oh, YouTube search hurts. Lean UX Canvas. No. Okay, so I'll need to make sure that I put that one on the calendar to make sure that I read that one and we talk through it. So ultimately, no, the Lean UX Canvas is not going to help anybody because it is too focused on things that really have, no, and I see an anonymous question just came in, so I'll check that in a moment. But it's just, I think irrelevant is the best word. So flipping back to my screen, this is the Lean UX Canvas. Why is it about business problems? This obviously doesn't seem to care about users or customers at all. We should be starting with a user problem, a customer problem. That would be UX. If we're not going to start with a user or customer problem, I'm not sure this qualifies as UX. This is some sort of business problem canvas where we're going to guess at solutions. So notice box 1 is the business problem. Nothing to do with the customer problem. Box 2 is the business outcomes that we want. So this is extremely business focused. Box 3 is what users have something to do with this, but we never really look at what are their problems and how are we going to solve them. Box 4 says user outcomes and benefits, but that to me reads more like let's throw people a bone. We have this business problem, we have these desired business outcomes, but here's how users will be affected as we try to solve our business problem. And, what's the most important thing we need to learn first? That doesn't sound like box 7 to me. That sounds like box 1. So, and there's a lot of problems here, like rushing into hypotheses and things like that. So this is the type of thing that I'm normally recommending against. And I think that with some critical thinking, you'll see where it falls apart. And of course, you're certainly welcome to check out my full article on that. So thanks for asking. Let's take a look at the question that came in anonymously. Sorry, it's a big copy and paste adventure here. Okay, we got a question 6 minutes ago. Thank you for your patience. Let me copy and paste this one and we'll get it up on the screen. First, I'll paste it into YouTube and then I'll paste it onto the screen. Okay. And Amir, if you have any follow-up questions, please do add them. We'll get them on the list. Okay, the question that just came in said, what is the difference between critical thinking and overthinking? I feel I might be overthinking and not critically thinking. I sincerely don't know the difference. Totally fine. A very fair question. And in fact, tomorrow's show is going to be talking about my oops, sorry, that is the wrong button to have pressed. Please hold. It is a different angle. Wacky. I would like to say I need more sleep, but I think I was in bed for 14 hours last night, so I can't blame that. Small buttons, that I could blame that. Okay, so let's talk about critical thinking. Tomorrow I'm going to be explaining meaningful, actionable, and helpful in more detail. I don't know why that didn't slide out all the way, but we'll get rid of it. And that might help. But let's talk about what's critical thinking and what's overthinking. So in general, critical thinking is going to be taking a topic or a situation or an article, really anything, and trying to make sense of it, trying to break it into pieces, trying to determine if it's true or false, or is it partially true or partially false? Does it have, and let's see if we can roll that out again. Does it have, oh yeah, that's right. I changed everything to now roll into the right side of the screen so I can do this, my right. Sure, Amir. So is it something we can take action on? Do we understand this well enough to do something about it? Does it help us? And again, is it true or false? Is it utilizing funky stuff to try to manipulate us? What are its possible outcomes? Now, you could still, what was the second question? I don't have a second question from Amir yet. You might have to put it back up again. Unless it came in anonymously. Now, overthinking very often it tends to be, and this isn't always, but tends to be just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about something, and sometimes kind of going down a rabbit hole or a spiral. You could be critically thinking and doing a good job of it and overthinking a bit. I wouldn't fault you for that. Lots of critical thinking can be a good thing. Hey, Janice. But overthinking without critical thinking very often can be negative self-talk, can be a lot of doubt or fear. So sometimes people say overthinking is just thinking about negative things, or how am I going to fix this, blah, blah, blah. But that's more solution focused. I would say critical thinking is not necessarily about what is the solution. It's about, what do I understand about what's going on here, and how can I make more sense out of the information that I have? Is this information true? Is there missing information? Is the information manipulated? Is the information trying to manipulate me? So I think these are good things to think about, and I think critical thinking is important, but I find very often when I feel like I'm overthinking, I've just gone down the rabbit hole of meaningless what ifs. Oh no, what if it's this? And then what if that? Oh no, if that happens, then that. Now again, sometimes that can be good. So it's really hard for me to say like, never do this or never overthink or never whatever. I definitely tend to do a lot of critical thinking, and sometimes I do some overthinking, but I know that from my own personality, I sometimes feel a little better after a little episode of overthinking, because I feel like, okay, I've thought out all the possible whatevers. Now I feel a little bit better. So I can't totally tell you you've done something wrong there. I would have to have more details, and that's hard to do in these typed situations. But thank you for an interesting question that I don't think we've gotten before. I'm just going to take a quick look for any anonymous questions before we go on with the questions that are in the chat room. Okay, so I'm not missing any anonymous questions. That's good. So let's jump over to, I think we've got Janice and Amir. Madeline says, just ordered the book. Thank you for sharing valuable knowledge in the community. You're welcome. I hope you like at least most of the book. So let's get Janice's question, and then we'll get Amir's second question. Let's copy paste. Give me a moment to get these into my little document for the YouTube description. Okay. There we go. All right. Copy paste. One woman show. Okay, here's Janice's question, and it says, hey Debbie, just caught up watching the democratization episode with Dr. Ari. He talked about data, stories, strategy, outcomes. Who helps prioritize? Does research collaborate with others before delivery, before they deliver their point of view? So typically, interesting question. So typically, with respect to collaborating before I deliver any sort of research, reports or documents or things like that, usually at the beginning of the research project, I've done some collaboration to learn more about who on my team or among the stakeholders or any leaders or executives who is going to see, who's likely to see this research. Sometimes you get surprised later, someone saw it. Who's likely to see this research? What are they expecting to get out of it? What types of formats do they need things in? So with respect to that, that's some early collaboration I'm doing so that I can build that into the research planning and not be surprised later that I made the wrong document or something like that. With respect to who prioritizes any work that comes out of the research, I think that is an opportunity for you to express your point of view. You can say, based on my knowledge of some of our business goals or business strategies or business problems, and based on what we've learned from our customers or potential customers or target audiences in this study, I would prioritize the things that we found the following way. And again, that's your suggestion. You can say, this is our suggestion or this is my suggestion. Sometimes teams say, okay, thanks, we're going to go do our own prioritization exercise and we don't care what you think, or we'll take what you said into consideration. you sometimes don't know what's going to happen next, but I still do agree with Dr. Ari that it is important for researchers to give their perspective. And for the agency and consultancy work that we do, very often I am asked to prioritize things, but I always deliver that to the client, reminding them that I can't possibly know all of their internal strategies and goals and inner workings and longer term plans. And so I am going to indicate what I think are some of the higher, medium, or lower priorities, but they should give it a pass and do their own prioritization as well. So I would say, in a sense, both. I don't think you have to collaborate before delivery. I think that, and certainly in my book, I'm recommending that after all of the research is done and the documents are out there and the researcher has presented it, then there will be a prioritization exercise with product and UX and engineering. Hopefully a researcher gets involved in that, but even if they don't, if they just involve a designer or a lead or a manager, they would hypothetically have your document and your suggestions to work from if they weren't too sure what kind of the UX perspective might be on those priorities. So I would say, now I'm not saying never collaborate with others. You could always talk to a designer, but typically a prioritization exercise happens after that anyway. It typically involves engineers and product managers or product owners, and I'm not sure that you would want to necessarily wait for that to state your perspective, because otherwise, if you end up going through that exercise and they disagree with everything and they prioritize things differently, we might not have captured your prioritization and why you prioritized things that way. So I would still say get that into your own documentation, and hopefully it will be carried into the next prioritization exercise. Thank you for that. Let's jump over to Amir's next question, and let's also check if we're getting in any more anonymous questions. I don't see that yet. Okay, so next question. Whoop, pressing all the wrong buttons today. Amir says, how can we determine UX metrics and how can we follow them? Chapter 8. YouTube watcher has a question. Okay, we'll add that after Amir's question. Thank you and good to see you, mysterious YouTube watcher. Okay, how do we determine UX metrics and how do we follow them? So every company and project is going to have something different. I can't say always check this or always measure this or never measure that. There are certainly some metrics that tend to be less meaningful than others. Good to see you. There are metrics that I find to not be meaningful, like time on the page. You can measure time on a page. Oh, thank you, Cherish. What? Tipped? What? Say what? Thank you, Cherish. That's very sweet of you. Oh my gosh, I owe you a coffee. Thank you very much. That shall go to good chuckle chip usage. So there's always stuff that we can measure, but when it comes to the customer or user experience, what should we measure? Oh, thank you. Me too. I love doing them. So I think that we have to take a look at measuring things from both the business perspective and the customer perspective. The business wants to know if their goals are being met, so we can't ignore the business metrics or KPIs. But what about the users? And that's, I think, where your question is. So it's going to depend on what type of system or company that you have. Some companies measure how often people sign in and use something. If frequency is important, you can measure that. Sometimes the business loves to see that frequency, but is that important to the customer? So try to come up with UX metrics that indicate success from the customer's point of view. So for example, would the customer say they've had an excellent time in your system or really got their tasks done just because they logged in? Probably not. So So the business might want to check logins or active users. Okay, that's for the business, but we have to come up with metrics that show success from the customer's perspective. This could be making a purchase. Because remember, the customer is coming to your site or system or whatever with a task. There's something they're trying to do. They're trying to learn about something. They're trying to buy something. They're trying to upgrade. They're trying to get help. They have a task in mind. Very few people are coming to your site with no task in mind. Even people who are just tire kickers and just looking around, even that has a task. Look around. See what's going on here. Learn some stuff. So if you think about what users' tasks might be for your site or system or a particular part of it, then you can try to match up metrics that indicate, aha, the user had success with what they're trying to do. So for example, if it's a utility company, you probably want to see people successfully paying their bills with as few mistakes as possible, with as few pages viewed as possible. Sometimes companies count page views, but the more pages people see, usually that means they're having trouble with something or they can't find something. You want more page views if this is a blog or media of some sort, but if it's a get crap done kind of site or system, you want low page views. You want efficiency. So I can't tell you the exact metrics to use or look for. I can only tell you that you should think about what would mean success to your customer or user. What means short-term success? What means long-term success? How will they know they got their task done, or got it done well, or got it done without mistakes? So, you know, these are some interesting things. Like I'll tell you an extremely upsetting personal story. I just got off the phone with the state of Arizona tax department. They said I underpaid them in taxes from my business, not personally, from my business in 2019 by $232. Now I'm thinking, how did that happen? I use TurboTax. TurboTax tells me what I owe, and that's what I pay. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the coming days trying to figure out what went wrong here, because I don't want to underpay my taxes again, especially not a relatively small amount like $200. It's not like I owed them $100,000. I owed them a relatively small amount of money. And whose mistake was that? If TurboTax made the mistake, I need to figure out what happened there. Did I make the mistake? Did I look at the wrong number and make the wrong payment? So this is where in the short term it might look like Debbie went through TurboTax, Debbie finished her tax returns, Debbie sent money to Arizona. Success, right? Looks good, sounds good. Hooray, everybody cheer, throw the confetti. But now here we are in the longer arc, and 2 years later, I'm learning I paid the wrong amount. That's trouble. So I do recommend looking at both short-term numbers that relate to success and longer-term numbers. If your customer support team is starting to get a lot of messages where people are saying, how did I underpay my taxes? You told me exactly what to pay, and that's what I paid. Then we have a problem where people are not have the success we thought we had when Debbie filed her taxes in February 2020 turns out in almost December 2022 is a failure. So I think that, you know, metrics are very complicated, but with, you know, working collaboratively with your team, you can think about what does success mean to your users in the short and long term. I hope that was informative, helpful. Too long? Too short? I don't know. All right, let's go to YouTube Watcher, since that seems to be our next question. Okay, here we go. Best tips and advice for making a research report and then presenting it. Yeah, obviously that's the kind of thing that you want to watch. And I think we did a micro sample one in the micro lessons playlist. But in reality, when I'm making, oh, hi, Cherish. We'll get your question up next. Thank you. So when I'm making reports, as I said, the first thing I do is early in the project, I learn who's going to see this report. What do they tend to do with it? What information do they need to make decisions or take their next steps? That's almost a mini research project in itself. And sometimes that's why we're interviewing stakeholders. Sure, we can ask stakeholders other things too, but I also want to know what they're expecting from me and from my project. That way I can make sure I deliver the right documents in the right ways. Now, my clients ask for different things for different reasons. So I can't say, oh, always give people this, never give people that. I can tell you that some of my clients like long form reports with every single thing we found in prose in a report with all of our ideas and suggestions. These things can be 80 pages and they go, yep, we want to see that. Some clients want the PowerPoint version. They want the slides version. They just want the high level key things. So maybe we make a PowerPoint with 16 or 20 slides with some of the most important things we want people to know about. Some of our clients ask for spreadsheets with a list of all of the problems or weird stuff or, you know, 4 horsemen: frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction that we found. Sometimes we're giving people personas. We're giving people, I don't usually do journey maps just because they're usually not my cup of tea. Sometimes we're giving them task analysis and optimized task flow. I'm looking forward to doing more service blueprints in the future. So it's not like I can say, hey, always give people this or always do this. It's really important to learn what your team needs to feel well informed related to customer intelligence and what's going to set them up for success for other decisions and strategies that happen next, or that's going to set the designers up for success. What do the designers need to know in order to design the right things? You know, what about writing problem statements? Will that help us with prioritization or design? There's so many different things that we can give, and these are just an example of some of the ones that I do. There are certainly other ones out there. So sorry that is a bit of a long answer with no, you know, it's the giant it depends as usual. Okay, Cherish says, I recently did a project for Team X, but some of the insights might apply to Team Y. How do I share insights across functions and teams? It really depends on kind of chain of command stuff there. Sure, thanks, YouTube watcher. Let me know if you have a follow-up question. And Janice, I see your question. I'm going to put it on the list. I think the two things you posted go together, I'm going to assume. So Cherish, the first thing that I would do is, do you know somebody on Team Y? Is there somebody on Team Y that you can reach out to directly because you know them? Maybe a UX practitioner, a researcher, a designer, sometimes the product manager or project manager. Yes. Okay, great. So I would just go directly to the people you know if you know them. Hey, I'm the researcher over on Team X. You're on Team Y, but you know, we found out some stuff that's really going to cross over into your area. So I want to make sure that you have access to all of my stuff. Here is a copy of my report. Here's the thing. And can I have a half-hour chat with you just to tell you some of the high points, and then you can dive more into the documentation and let me know if you have questions. That's probably what I would do. I told Team Y about my project and they want to learn more. Yeah, for sure. Why wouldn't they? Any good, smart team wants to have more data and evidence and intelligence. So it's great to hear that they did want to hear it. And again, you don't have to present it just to the researcher or the designer. Present to the whole team. Again, this is where collaboration can really shine. Don't just present it to 2.5 people. See if everybody wants to come to that meeting. Product managers, product owners, engineers. Let's make sure that everybody feels informed about the things that you've learned about users and customers or target audiences or our system or competitors or whatever it might be. So share that data for sure, and schedule a meeting and get everybody at it. You know, maybe some people won't show up, they don't think it's important, but invite everybody to it. It's the right thing to do. Hey Niku, good to see you. How have you been? We'll add Niku's question to the bottom of the list, and we'll go into Janice's question next, and then circle back to Niku. Let's also check that I'm not missing any. Nope, not missing any anonymous questions. Thank you for all the non-anonymous questions today. All right. Janice says, a government client once told me they get a lot of traffic and they wouldn't want to see it go down with the redesign, but there's no research on their traffic and they didn't have metrics they track. What types of questions could I have asked the stakeholders to unlock what they wanted? Okay, so it sounds like this is a moment when we're very focused on traffic, but again, as I was saying before, traffic is often a bit of a vanity metric. Hey, our government site got 2 million visits this month. Congratulations. How's your customer satisfaction? How's your task completion rate? How many mistakes are people making? How many people go to the website and then have to call for help because the website didn't help them? Sure, Amir, thanks to you. So I think that when people are obsessed with traffic, I usually do ask some more questions. So number one, can I get the data on your current traffic? You know, can I have access to Google Analytics or any sort of logs, or can I talk to someone on the data team? You know, you sound concerned about the traffic. I'd like to know a little bit more about this traffic and where it's coming from. Also, I might ask them, what else do you measure? Because just because you have traffic doesn't mean that you have success or conversions or good completion rates or low error rates. You might still have a high customer support utilization. You might have people who find out 2 years later they didn't pay the right number in taxes. So I would ask if there's anything else they measure, and I would also ask them, why is that traffic important? Sometimes you find out they have to compare themselves to other government agencies. Well, our agency gets 2 million visits a month, and this other agency only gets $1 million a million visits a month, so we get more funding. It could be anything, and we have to be sensitive to that. Janice says, exactly. I recognize the vanity metric, but I didn't know how to poke at that without insulting them. Hey, I would just say something like, okay, I understand your concerns about not wanting your traffic to go down. Can I ask you if something else is tied to that traffic? Like, you know, who else knows about those traffic numbers and does it affect something else? You know, and I'm kind of, if they say, what do you mean? I say, well, like, you know, do you get different budget or resources based on your traffic? Because it does seem like a very surface level thing to be concerned about, when really you would hope that a government site is concerned more about, are people getting stuff done? Are people self-servicing well so that they don't have to bug our support reps? Usually these sites want to see people getting things done themselves and doing it correctly so that they don't have to bother, you know, government workers or support agents. So yeah, I think the best way is first of all, validate that. I recognize that this is important to you. I've taken a note of that. Of course, we don't want to see your traffic go down, and there shouldn't be anything. You know, we don't want to see your traffic go down either, but our project is about helping people fill out this form better, or blah, blah, blah. Maybe you think you're going to have nothing to do with the traffic, because traffic is usually people coming into the site from somewhere else. So I think there's just ways to ask people, hey, I'm with you. We don't want to see your traffic go down either, but can I ask you more about why that traffic number is important? And I think that there's soft ways to ask that don't sound like an insult. You don't have to say, traffic's a vanity number. Why do you care about that? I'd say, hey, traffic can seem very important sometimes. I get it. Can I ask you why it's important to you? Does it affect other things that happen here? Yeah, the budget we get is based on how much traffic we get. You never know. Wacky stuff out there. All right. Let's see what Niku's talking about. Oh, let me copy and paste. Hi, Debbie and all. Good to see you. Good to see you. My question, what are some solutions to burnout and feeling stuck as a designer? What are some reasons it can happen? Thank you. Okay, Niku, my first question would be source of burnout, if you're comfortable sharing, and you might not be, and that's okay. Are you burning out because you're working too many hours? Are you burning out because you're working a healthy number of hours, but the day is just too stressful? Or you're working a healthy number of hours, but there's so many fights and conflicts at work? Or you're working a healthy number of hours, but there are some toxic people at work, and you are being abused or gaslit or manipulated. So I think, even if you're not comfortable asking that, ultimately my advice is probably to talk to a manager. If you don't have a manager that cares about you and backs you up, I do tend to recommend talking to HR. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, HR sucks. They're never going to do anything. They're not going to help me. They're supposed to. And I know that in many cases they don't, and sometimes they are the enemy. But they are supposed to help you, and they are somebody I go to, especially if my manager is not helping. If there's too many projects or you're working too many hours, especially if you're not being paid for it, I would be talking to my team and maybe to my manager about balancing priorities. Hey, everybody, I'm starting to burn out. I'm supposed to be working 45 hours a week, but I have like 60 hours a week of work, and something's got to give, and I don't want it to be my health, because then you're going to get 0 of me, and we're really going to be behind. So how can we balance this a little bit better? How can we make sure that my priorities are clearer? Is there a way where I can get some longer deadlines? These deadlines are too short. I'd like to be more involved in estimating the time that UX gets to do the work, because other people are estimating for me, and it's causing me to burn out. And I know everybody wants UX work fast, but nobody wants me to burn out or be sick over it. So let's make sure that we're finding that happy medium. We'll get Cherish's question up next. Niku says, I think it stems from me thinking I'm out of ideas or lack of inspiration. Okay, so that just sounds like some general stress. Very often burnout is like, oh my God, I've been working too much or too hard and I'm just out of energy. So if you feel like you're out of ideas or out of inspiration, I try to be inspired by our customers. I try to remember, who am I doing this for? I'm doing this for the customers. I'm going to go read some customer complaints. I'm going to go read some customer happy things. I'm going to go read tweets about us. I'm going to go read stuff that comes from the customer to remind me of why I'm doing it. Now, sometimes at our companies, our projects are not that creative. They're not always inspiring. Sometimes we're just trying to do basic things well, and they don't feel like very creative projects. And I would say, have you taken a vacation in a while? I think that's to me personally. Oh no, maybe that's to Niku. Niku, have you taken a break? Yeah, I mean, you must be due some vacation time. You've got the end of the year coming up. I don't know if your company is going to close over Christmas or New Year's or any of the December wintertime holidays of any religion or culture. But certainly taking some time off can help. But again, if you are being overworked or your priorities are unclear, after your vacation, you're going to jump right back into it. Make sure if you do take a vacation that it is a real vacation. Do not check emails. Do not do a little bit of work. Do not think, oh, I'm falling behind. The world has to continue without you, and you just have to make sure that you really get some space and really take a break. So definitely consider a vacation that's a true vacation. Leave work behind. Tell them you're not available and you'll deal with all this stuff later. Now, I think a vacation, and I've recommended this to a friend before, so thanks to Cherish for coming up with the idea. I did recommend to a friend that she take some time, a week or so off, because she was due it and she was getting a little burned out. I said, this is a great time for your company to remember what happens when you're not there. Other people are going to have to pick up your work and be super stressed out by that, or your work just doesn't get done. And I think when your work doesn't get done, hopefully sometimes people develop a little bit more of an appreciation. A lack of appreciation would be like, yeah, you weren't here, but we decided to just wireframe it ourselves. You want to make sure you're setting it up for, I'm going on vacation, but UX work doesn't get done in my absence. Please don't try to do my work without me. That would make it sound like you don't need me and you don't recognize my specialty and my skills. Again, you might need a manager's help here. But these are some things that I would take a look at, and I would certainly be speaking to my manager about this, if you have a decent relationship with them. Okay, Cherish asks, what do you think a good weekly one-on-one with a manager should look like? Yeah, good luck, Niku. I think there's lots of answers here. I don't think there's one right thing. It really depends on the manager and on you. When I worked at Macy's, my manager, when I first started there, my manager was like, do you like to have one-on-ones? And I was like, no. And he was like, yeah, you've been doing this a while. I don't think I need to watch over you every week. Why don't we just schedule meetings when we need them? And I was like, cool, that matches my style. So I think the first question is, what is your style? If you do like the weekly one-on-one or weekly check-in or work review or whatever it might be, you can absolutely have that. Just because I'm not into it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Everybody should be doing these types of things where they can be helpful. So I think a good weekly one-on-one manager with a manager should look like a manager wanting to know what you're working on and how it's going, if they don't already know, and a manager just asking how you're doing and how they can help. I think those are some key things that could happen in a one-on-one, that at least that's how I would like to run a one-on-one. Like, hey, what are you doing? What are you working on? Do you want to show it to me? Do you need help with anything there? How's it going with the team? Do you need any help or support with any team issues? And what else can I do for you? That's my style. But, that might not match everybody's. And that might not even match your needs. You might say, gee, I don't like Debbie's style. I wish my one-on-ones were different. But I also like to ask people what they prefer for a one-on-one. And I found that that's what most people wanted, but it won't be everybody, and that's fine. So I think you should feel comfortable asking a manager for what you want from a one-on-one. You just have to make sure that you've thought about it and that you can articulate it. You don't want to say, hey, these one-on-ones aren't really what I need. And then they say, what do you need? And you go, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. Always make sure you've got an answer and a plan when you're asking for change. So I would say think about that and think about what would help you most and how your manager can best support you. Buonasera, it's Jürgen, everybody. Ciao, Jürgen and Victoria. Good to see you. I know who you are, Victoria. Okay, let's get... Wow, he's actually here, everybody. The Jürgen from the Bergen. He's here. Holy cats. Let's put his question up. As the only UX designer in a small business with no UX maturity, what would be the most important thing to focus on? Any obvious pitfalls? You know, I think the most important thing, and Victoria will get your question on the list next. I think the most important thing to focus on is going to be a collaboration with your team. Hey team, what can I do? Or if you're assigned to multiple teams because you're the only UX person in the building, you have to figure out what the priorities are. Usually that means working with project managers or product managers or product owners to say, what are our, hey, it's November. What are our Q1 priorities? What are our Q1 projects? Chances are you're planning these and road mapping these now if you haven't already. I want to know what some of our top priorities are for Q1 or even Q2 if they have that planned. And that way I can match my work up to what you're going to need, and I know ahead of time so that I can plan my work out if you get to plan your own work. So I think I would be focusing on as the sole UX team of one, I would be focusing on the coming priorities. And again, if you have to do UX work for multiple teams, then you either have to get those product people together or project people together, and you have to say, I can't get all of this done. We have to decide which one is the top priority. I need to help prioritizing this. I can't make all of you the top priority at the same time. I can't have everybody's everything ready for January 3rd. I need to know of these projects. Okay, we have 8 projects for Q1. What's the most important one? Which one do I need to get done first? What's that deadline look like? Maybe we're talking Q2 now, but whatever the case may be. That's what I would be doing for some of that planning and road mapping, is working with other people on how they see the priorities. And if product manager 1 says, oh, this is my top priority, get it done immediately, and product manager 2 says, this is my top priority, get it done immediately, I would be writing a little 3-way email or Slack message or something saying, hey, both of you have said you need work that's immediate. I would love for us to hire another UX designer so that it doesn't all fall on me. But as of now, it does all fall on me, and I can't do 2 projects immediately at the same time. Can you two please discuss with each other which project comes first, so that I can, and that way you kind of take it off your own thing and you go, you two decide. I'll work on whichever you two decide is more important, but I need to know that. And we have Leticia coming in. So we'll put your question on the end of the list. Jürgen, how's that? And how am I doing on your name pronunciation? I'm not good at O with slash. Honey, how do you pronounce O with slash for a Norwegian person? U? Like umlauty U?
Yeah, it's like O-E.
It's like O-E? Jürgen? Jürgen? Oh, should I roll the R?
I don't know.
Is it a guttural R?
No, it's an O with a...
No, the R.
With,
Help.
with Jürgen.
Yeah. I'm going to need some phonetic help or a recording of your name, which I recently got from Manuel. All right, so Mysterious Man in Bergen, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up question, and let's get Victoria up on the screen. I'm a piano teacher turned UX researcher trying to get my first role. The most common advice is to volunteer, but is there a better way to gain experience where I'd really get to see the impact of my work? Okay, so first let's talk about volunteering, and then let's talk about what else there is. I don't like the volunteering thing because I find that many of those projects, if not almost all of them, are number one, not really UX, and number two, you're rarely given a senior or lead or well-experienced person who's going to watch your, look at your work and oversee it and tell you where you could do better. So the problem is that without that expert to take a look at your work, you're just doing work and you don't know if it's good work or bad work. You don't know where you can improve. It would be like giving a student a piano piece to practice and then never listening to how they play it. They're just going to keep playing it the way they play it. Their technique might be terrible. It might sound awful. And because no expert is looking at this, they're not getting the feedback they need. And I find that to be common among many, though not all, of these volunteer experiences. So number one, I would say, have some standards. Check if there really is a lead with many years of experience who's going to be looking at your work. I would say at least once a week, if not more. You really don't want to spend too long going in the wrong direction before someone goes, oh, you're done with your research? Yeah, your plan kind of stunk. Well, it's a little bit late for that. So yes, I agree with that the volunteering is usually not a great way to go, especially because sometimes these aren't even UX projects. Sometimes they're market research, sometimes they're web design, and so that's not going to help you ultimately. Is there a better way to gain experience and see the impact of the work? There is, but it mostly doesn't exist. The better way would be apprenticeships, internships, and junior jobs. That's just it. That would be the better way. The better way would be an apprenticeship type of job, or where a junior job expects an entry-level person who has little or no experience, who is there to learn on the job and be mentored and coached by seniors and leads and managers and whoever. That would be the best way to learn. That mostly doesn't exist because we said everyone's a researcher. Democratize research, dilute research, let the product managers do research. Every time a UX leader or fake leader says, yeah, we'll let the product managers do research, that's a job you're not getting. I see that as them directly taking that job away from you. That should be your job. Why are we training product managers, but we're not training Victoria? This is going to be Victoria's career. The product manager's probably going to stay a product manager. Pays pretty well, I hear. We're doing this to ourselves, and I'm looking at UX leaders to fix this. UX leaders, stop letting anybody and everybody do UX work and hire the Victorias, hire the Janices, hire Cherish, hire these people, Jürgen too, hire these people. Stop giving their work to other newbies and acting like we can't train UX newbies. Of course we can. So unfortunately, the better way to gain experience is in an environment where you get to do some realistic work on a realistic team and have support and feedback from an expert who is allocated at least a couple of hours here and there to check in on you and your work. That's the better way. But obviously the next question is, great, where do I get that? It mostly doesn't exist. Companies keep closing the doors to the juniors and the newbies because they think, we'll just have the agile team do some research. We'll just have the product managers talk to some customers. We'll have marketing do it. You can thank all of the UX gurus and leaders who are out there teaching people to democratize, or everyone's a researcher. This helps take away your jobs. Stop pressing like on that stuff. It's not your fault, Victoria, but that's what these people are doing, and I hate it. And I'm sorry about it because you and so many others deserve better. Okay. Leticia? I don't know. I'm not good. I'm thinking this is Portuguese, and I'm bad at pronouncing pretty much anything, including American names. Victoria says, thank you. Yes, I agree. There's so many dubious volunteer opportunities. Yeah. Okay. Probably our last question, because we're out of time, is how do you deal with a research job that already has a format? They would like you to deliver the interviews analysis, but you don't think it's a good way of doing it or coming up with insights. Well, can you find the happy middle? Oh, Thank you, Jürgen. Can you find the happy middle? Can you use their template and their format, but still come up with the right insights and just find a way to squeeze it into their format? Thanks, Niku. See you later. Have a good day. And don't forget, everybody, Friday stream is book launch party. Excuse me. So come at 6:30 p.m. Italy time here to the YouTube channel and LinkedIn. And we will be celebrating the new book. I'll be reading some excerpts and taking some questions. So it looks like that. And of course, don't forget to subscribe here and tell peeps about the super cool Ask Me Anything Tuesday shows. So I think my question is, can you do both? Can you follow their preferred formats and templates, but still come up with your insights the correct way? If they have some sort of format that acts like you don't need to do coding or tagging or an affinity map, but you still want to do an affinity map, are you barred from doing an affinity map? This seems strange. I would be talking to your manager, who hopefully has some research experience, where you can express to them, hey, you know, I understand that you have these formats and these templates, and I want to follow them as much as possible, but I'm wondering if something's missing. I'm wondering if there's room for improvement here. And I always hope that these are living documents, that they can evolve. Sometimes this is just a format that is just old and left over from some other time. And so hopefully you can find a gentle way to ask if there's room for these documents to have some continuous improvement, for these documents to enjoy a little bit of agility and be improved, and for us to take another look at them, because you know, there's some good things going on here in these formats and templates, but I think we're missing out on blah 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 because of this. So yeah, I would say see if you can talk about that with your manager, especially if your manager has a research background and would understand. If your manager doesn't have a research background and doesn't understand, what's this? I hope I didn't miss anything. That's tougher, and I would probably then go to whoever is sort of the de facto team lead, like a project manager, sometimes a product manager or owner, sometimes a scrum master, and just say, hey, I know that we've got this format, but it's missing something, and I would hope that we can you know, use some of the concepts of agility to take a second look at this and see where it can be improved, because I noticed that it's missing this, or I noticed that it's asking for this in this format, but there's now a better way to do it. You can always make it sound like, well, this might have been okay in the past, but there's a better way now. And something like that. So I hope that helps. Maybe, yes, a little. So while we see if anybody else has, we're technically out of time and running late, so I'll just mention quickly that tomorrow's show I'm going to be talking more about what is meaningful, actionable, and helpful. It's a freelance job. I would still go to whoever is your manager or team lead. Just because it's freelance doesn't mean you have no team. There's got to be somebody you're working with. Also, sometimes I just break out of it and I go, hey, I know you use this format, but, you know, I've added something to it. So, you know, here's your thing, and I've just added this extra thing. I think it's going to be really helpful, or I know it's going to be really helpful for everybody. I just do it. Tomorrow, meaningful, actionable, helpful. Thursday is December 1st, the first Thursday of the month, so we will have our live community networking in Remo. You can find out where to go by looking at the live events channel in both our Slack and Discord groups, which are free to join. You can totally join them. The Slack one's a little more active. The Discord seems to attract a lot of introvert lurkers, but both communities are certainly active. Letitia says, perhaps I can do a little extra work and add something to it. Yeah, make it your own. Hi, I'm a freelancer. I'm happy to use your format, but you know, it just happens to be missing a little something that I think or know or believe will be really important for people having better knowledge of how the research went and having good evidence to work with after this. Go for it. Friday, of course, is book publishing stream. I expect to see everybody there waving their books around if you happen to get yours, waving their Kindles and so on. Even though we won't be able to see you because it'll be here on YouTube, but we'll see your comments. Like these. So I'm going to play us out of here, but with a thanks to everybody, and I'll hope to see you tomorrow for more about meaningful, actionable, helpful. Hello, Cherish says hooray with a party person. We're not getting the party people today, are we? I'll do a quick refresh. It'll reload all of the emoji at the same time. It'll go wild. There we go. Everything. No, not everything. All right, we tried. Yeah. Thanks again. Yay, book release. Looking forward to it. Me too. So I'm streaming every day this week except Thursday. So I'll see everybody then. Gotta go. Me too. Bye, everybody. See you later. Be well, and I will play us out of here. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are